What is she talking about? Urban planning? What? Hi, hello and welcome to the library. I hope that you're all doing very well today. I'm probably cooked. I just woke up from a nap. Nothing is clear in my head, and we need to do some research. Test on overlay. What are you talking about? I was testing things with the chat just to move a few things. But non-moderator cannot see that. Urban planning, unban planning, plus 2, I don't know. I don't think we have anyone we would like to unban anyway. So yeah. Well, I hope that you're doing well today. This is like a short stream. I don't think we'll spend too much time here unless like we stumble upon like a golden idea and we need to explore that for hours and hours. But there is raid just after this stream, so I want to take some time to focus before raiding. Ban me to unban me. I won't ban you. There's no reason. I will not ban you. Oh my god. Raid moment. Yeah, imagine raiding. I will say I'm pretty eager to return into M6. I think we did alright yesterday, and it should be interesting today. Okay, so what's the plan for today? Research, yes. Urban planning, yes. Yokosuka, yes. But what's really the point of everything? I mean, I will explain that in the introduction of our session. Do I have like things I want to yap about before we start? Oh, I was checking like Blueprints. I think we talked about Blueprints, the game that has taken the internet by storm lately, and we'll probably not play it just because what I've heard about the game make it a very adverse game for streaming. It's like a puzzle game, but you have a layer of roguelike, of RNG, meaning that you know the solution of a puzzle, but you need to draw like the right RNG to be able to solve that puzzle. So it's why the game is like so long. I think the game is like 30 hours long, something like that, and maybe we don't have the time to spend that much, that much time just wandering in several runs, waiting for the good RNG to come to us. And I don't know. I feel like a good puzzle is a puzzle that is solved the moment you know what to do. And maybe their game is, I don't know, going in the wrong direction. I don't want to pass judgment without playing it. I'll probably try to play a little bit off stream, but a lot of people, I mean, the critiques were extremely positive about the game at first, and the game is like kind of tanking in terms of like general reception, because it seems that the puzzle parts and the roguelike parts are just antithetic to one another. Like, for example, people say that, okay, you have to solve this puzzle in this particular room, a laboratory or whatever. But to get into the laboratory, you need like to go through 3 other rooms beforehand. And you need to draw them in your run to be able to go to the laboratory. If you do not, then it's a wasted run, basically. And people will tell you, but it's not a wasted run. You can like gather information for, a subsequent playthrough when you'll explore another room. So you need to go very slowly and always try to infer things, even if it is not related to the puzzle you want to solve right now. And again, that's the problem. Like, you want to solve a particular puzzle and the game is telling you, no, you cannot. you cannot, because you don't have the good RNG to do so. And we are in a situation where the puzzles are not hard, but you're forced to take notes because you need to remember things you have done like 4 runs ago, since you will not draw the good RNG to finish the game or to, you know, progress at a certain point. And people are like, well, the good game starts for the end game, for the post game. And it's like, you do like a puzzle game and there's a post game, what are you doing? And basically it's just like solving the remaining puzzles. But again, you have the same issue of like, you need like to go to this particular puzzle to be able to solve it, but you need to draw like so many rooms that are extremely specific to go to that point. And again, it's just like the concept is like so interesting, and it's kind of like fumbling because the mechanics are at odds with one another. And I saw a person saying that it's kind of like the reverse of Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds is like extremely cryptic at the beginning. You don't know what to do. There's too many things to do. And the more you progress, the more you understand how the world is working and it makes sense. And that's what is really hooking you into the game. And the person was saying that Blueprints, it's the reverse one. Like, you start and you think that it's crazy, it's such a good idea, and the more you progress, the more you understand that the mechanics are literally obstacles in your way. And you're just wasting your time again and again trying to progress. And the more you progress, the more you feel that, because there are less things to do. And so the RNG that you need to have needs to get better and better and better. So yeah, probably we won't play the game. It makes you question everything, Miyabi. The decision we're puzzling. +2 question mark? The good old freemium microtransaction hell design. I don't think it's like microtransaction. It's like the issue of I don't know, roguelike being such an important genre today for various reasons, and people not understanding what makes the sort of, I don't know, the current, you know, roguelikes that are working. The true puzzle to solve was the game design. I've seen like a review of someone telling that I thought that the game had like bad ideas of game design, and then I understood that it's just like purposefully wasting your time. Oh yes, the start of the game, it's probably not, you know, consciously. I think it's just like the concept seems fun, but like even at the beginning you can understand that it's like not good. Because people were also comparing the game a lot to Myst, and it's like, oh, you are like understanding what the entire island is about through, you know, the course of the puzzles and the game. And it's like, yes, but like in Myst, there's one playthrough. There's no post-game. You're not resetting a run. You just do the game and it's over. And I don't know why you cannot have this more like environmental design of puzzles without having the roguelike parts. It doesn't make any sense. It's like the same way there's this added layer of RNG of like permanent progression to Hades, and it doesn't make sense because like in Hades you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again with very few diversity in terms of enemies, bosses, layout. It's always the same thing. And there's a point when the game is like really overstaying its welcome. I think in Hades it comes like, I don't know, after you've done the epilogue, the first epilogue, well, let's say like you've done like your 5, 7, 8 runs, and you're like, oh no, I still need, you know, I don't know, 10 more to reach the epilogue. And it's like, am I having fun doing the same thing over and over again? And maybe you might, if you're doing other things at the same time, like you're using Hades as a game to, I don't know, listen to some podcasts or things like that. But I think that if the game is not interesting on its own, then what are you doing? If like you're just wasting your time. And in Hades, I do understand the people that like it, it's not a problem. But like on Blueprints, you have like runs that are literally dead because you cannot do anything. Managing frustration is huge for good roguelikes, or the one I enjoy. I think, like, for example, Isaac is a good roguelike because you have an insane amount of variety of characters, and you can go for like, oh, I want an easy run, so I will, target a good item, or I want to challenge myself and I will play whatever run I get, and maybe I need to farm a bit more. But like in Isaac, depending on the build you have, you can choose the boss you want to fight, the final boss you want to fight, and it gives you variety and choices every time, and you can manage that also depending on the time you want to spend on the game. If you want, I don't know, a 20-minute run, just go for the normal ends. If you want like something a bit more, meaty, go for the DLC endings, something like that, and you always have the choice. I like tower defense roguelikes because the journey is fun on its own. I don't care about anything else, but when you're forced to fail to get to the fun, it's bad, in my opinion. I do agree. I think like permanent upgrades is like the bane of roguelikes. If you need like to fail again and again just to get some added stats, then it's not meaningful. And again, it's the example of Isaac. In Isaac, you unlock new items, you unlock new characters, but it's not like a power up per se compared to like the base game. Like you will obviously have like more transformative items at some point, but you still need like, it's still within the realm of the roguelike. It's not like it's not just a stat that is increased, like, oh, I've died like, I don't know, 10 times in Isaac and then I get like +2 to shot speed for every character. It would be dumb. I just want to keep my items. I think also there's also a discussion about like roguelikes in general and having, to start a run from the beginning again. I don't think it's for everyone. And again, it's like there's a balance of frustration, whatever. I just think that, yeah, puzzle and roguelike, it feels like a crazy idea and maybe you can make it work. I just don't think that it works in blueprints from what I've seen and what I read. So I don't know. If someone in the chat will play blueprints at some point and they want to share their experience, I would be really glad to hear about your opinions. But yeah, I will probably not play it myself on stream at the very least because it seems so adverse to what we can do in 3 days per week. I don't want to spend 3 hours on blueprints, and we have seen that we did like 2% of the game, and then we would need to go like for 100 sessions to finish the game, because it's not about solving puzzles, it's about like resetting until like you reach like a good RNG that allows you to progress. And this is the same thing, like people were saying, like when you're traversing the rooms, it's like a first-person game. It's fine for the first time, and then you have like runs where it's dead, you don't have the good RNG, and you're just wandering in the halls, in the rooms of the manor, and it's dead, and that you still have to do things, and it's painfully slow because you have this frustration of I cannot do what I want to do, meaning solving this particular puzzle. Anyway, I think that's enough for my hating arc on blueprints. Yeah, I think if it was just a puzzle game, a bit reminiscent from, I don't know, Maze of the Blue Medusa or something just environmental based, I think it would have been very good. But no, it's like a roguelike, not first, but like at the same time, and you need to fight against the roguelike mechanics a little bit. Also because people are saying that like the transformative bonuses that you get from roguelike are not that important, so the game is just like purposefully wasting your time. That's basically it for that. I'll transition to think roguelikes should have no dead runs. I do agree. I completely agree. I'll transition to our scene, maybe, if it's working. Yes. Okay. So the point today, as you can see in the description, the title of the video, is to work a little bit on my research topics. Because I need to be a bit productive. Streaming is fun, but I kind of like put a lot of things on hold, and I want to get back to studying again, to doing some research. So it's not a leaf of their books, it's kind of like the backstage is. You can see how I'm working, and it's like a work together. We can talk together, I'll read things, we'll yap a lot. If you want to work at the same time, I think it's a great stream to do so. If you have other things to do, it's a great stream to do so. It's a second monitor stream, first and foremost. That's the intent of the thing. And if you can like leave the stream with like some interesting ideas, then my job is done. And I don't know, it's just my research at the end of the day. Like I'm just like showcasing what I do when I'm not streaming. Anyway, in the last A Leaf of Their Books episode, if you remember, we talked about recreational fishing, and the goal was to introduce some ideas on countryside and leisure in the countryside, because we will see how they translate inside the city. And I have like worked a lot in the past 2 years, so everything about leisure in the city is kind of like already written, and we're at a later point in my demonstration. So my topic, my research focus is on the Sumida River. You can see, I think you see my cursor a little bit. The Sumida River is this one. So this one here. And it's basically it splits from the Arakawa River. The thing is that the Arakawa River, that you can see here, the big one, was basically the old name of the Sumida River. It's maybe a bit more complicated than that, but let's say it is. And you can see that it's like a big river. It starts basically here, and it runs like through Tokyo and to the north of the Tokyo Bay. And at some point in the early 20th century, because there were a lot of risks of flood, they built like sluices, and they just diverted a part of the Arakawa River into this watercourse here that is like flowing a bit west of the Arakawa, and they changed the name. So the Sumida River is this particular river. I have a lot to talk about the Sumida River, but that's not exactly the point of today. Today we are trying to get a first idea about marginality in the cities, and especially marginality next to rivers and next to harbors. So the focus of today is Yokosuka, and Yokosuka is here. So it's like still in the Tokyo Bay, but south of the Tokyo Bay, like it's, I think, 1 hour by car, something like that. And so you can see that Yokohama is here. I think Yokohama is better known. And you have like Yokosuka, which is like known because it's you can see that there's a military harbor here, because you have like a US base, military base here, Navy base. And we will focus on that first, but I kind of want to explain how we get into this particular, why we are talking about Yokosuka in particular. So in a previous section that I've already worked on, I focused on dams, and especially like displacement of populations because of dam. Because after the war, after the Second World War, Japan was starting to build a lot of dams everywhere in the country, partly to manage like risks of flood, but also because they were kind of like, it was like a political strategy of like, we're building something in your prefecture and you will stay, you will vote for us. So there's a kind of like pork barrel politics. The Liberal Democrat Party really just buying influence by, spending money in particular areas, especially because it's like, oh, we are commissioning certain companies and we are paying you like a lot more than the price of the project, because we are just giving you money and then you will vote for us, and that's how like the LDP is staying in power, basically since the Second World War. Higurashi flashback, it's literally that. I don't talk a lot about Higurashi in my demonstration because I don't want to spoil the game, but Higurashi is basically the starting point of the previous section on the dams. It's like, oh, in Higurashi we were talking about like the construction of this dam and this legend about people getting killed in there. Like, if you haven't played like or seen Higurashi, basically it's like the village of Hinamizawa, and in the 70s, you learn that the village was embroiled in the construction of a dam, and this particular dam should have flooded the village. But the project was cancelled, and as a player, you don't really know exactly what happened. You know that construction should have happened because there are physical traces of the construction work. You have the I don't know how you say that in English. I'm a bit cooked today. The dump, whatever. Like for the garbage dump. You know that it was like the site of the dam construction, and that's where Rena is playing in the game, in the anime. And you know that in 79 there was like a series of murders, or at least a series of deaths during each festival of Watanagashi. And Watanagashi is basically like a divinity, it's the name of the festival for the divinity of the village. And so every year you have one person that will die and another person will disappear. And this is called like onikakuchi. So kind of like disappearing because of a demon, spirited away by a demon. And there's this whole discussion about like the influence of like national policies in small villages and how people get traumatized by that. And that's the whole, point of Higurashi, but because I don't want to spoil the game, we are not talking too much about that. But this is like very interesting because Higurashi is basically talking about the invisibilization of Japanese society and the isolation of communities that are not part of central Japan, or, the urban Japan. If you're living in a village, then you're kind of like the losers of modernization in Japan. And there's a whole discussion that I have about dams and how people relate to their environments, and they have like mythologies about their living environment. They think, that some divinities live in rivers that are flowing through the villages or things like that, and that when we're building a dam and just like flooding everything, then we're kind of like killing those mythologies, or at the very least, those mythologies stay inaccessible for the people that are not living in those villages or like peripheral areas. And my point is that this vision of marginality can be found also in cities near rivers because rivers in cities are kind of a place where you can contemplate life. And you will be able to, I don't know, it's kind of like a bubble out of time where you can like try to think about yourself and have like other experiences that are not, you know, school, work, just to, I don't know, find yourself again. And then you come back like to the city and you live your life. So that's my intuition for this entire part, but we need like more elements to begin to draw some hypotheses, and then we need to see how they hold in reality when we are confronting that to works that I will be analyzing. So that's the point of Yokosuka, because Yokosuka is like the setting of Shenmue 1. The first Shenmue is... so this is a game where you play in this little city, I mean not little, but in the city of Yokosuka, and you do like your daily life. You're working there, you have like a menial work, you're exploring the bars and talking to people, and the game is representing the harbor as home, but also a place that you will leave at some point because you need like to fulfill your legacy or your destiny to other places. And this is like the setup for Shenmue, for the second part of the game, and for Shenmue 2, whatever. And the question is like, how do we represent Yokosuka in Shenmue? How is it different from reality? And what it can tell us about the representation of harbors. And then we can like move to other harbors, namely Yokohama, and we'll go like north, and then we'll start to see like the, you know, inner Tokyo Bay and then the Sumida River, because all those things are related to each other. So I was trying to search for a few things to prepare this particular stream, and the thing is like it's hard to find resources on Yokosuka in English, because this is not the usual example we are taking when we're analyzing harbors in Japan. Unfortunately, again, like Yokohama is the better known harbor, and most of the studies are focusing on Yokohama. So it's a bit unfortunate for me, because Yokohama is not what we see in Shenmue, unfortunately. But I have some information about Yokosuka, namely that it's a US base, and that this town kind of went through, I don't know, dire times in the, let's say, 90s. Like population started to decrease. I think if we go to the Wikipedia page, we'll see like the population evolution. You can see here, I believe, like this is like demographics for Yokosuka, and you can see that like there's a big increase. Well, not big, but at least steady increase until the 90s, and then like it slows during the 80s, and then now we are with a downward trend, with population declining, and also population getting older and older. And this is like a trend in, you know, all of Japan, but this is very interesting in Yokosuka. Because like you have a lot of, as they say here, you have a lot of foreign citizens. Obviously you have like American people, because this is a US military base. So there's this whole tradition, and we'll get to that a bit later, of sailors working there, and then they go to some very famous bars and you know, restaurants during the evening, and this was extremely famous. And now the situation is a bit more complicated since COVID. Again, we'll talk about that later. But first, I need like to also talk about a few little things that are interesting and I need to like put in the limelight immediately, so that we keep that in mind while we are walking a little bit. And this is the concept of eco-ambiguity that Karen Thorpner has developed in her book called Eco-Ambiguity, Environmental Crisis and East Asian Literatures. So this is basically a book where she's like talking mostly about Japan, China, Korea, and Taiwan. And she is exploring the ambiguous relationship that people have with nature, that sometimes we are striving to protect nature and sometimes we are striving to, I don't know, not striving, but we are destroying nature. And we kind of do that for the sake of nature. And to explain that, I will show you like an excerpt of her book. This is not the one, this is for later. But in her book, so forgive me, the PDF is like really bad, like it's a bit weird, so we'll just have to do. But she's giving an interesting example that that we will read together. I don't know, some symbols are like disappearing from this particular PDF. So we need to, I'll just show you how it's really written. A book stream, a research stream. I'm doing some research here, and I will be doing some research for 2.5 hours, something like that. And just because I need to do some work, and I thought that it could be fun, like to do with all of you. And again, if you have like some interesting ideas, feel free to share, because like research is and should be a collective endeavor. And nowadays, like I'm doing a lot of research alone, but I'm always happy to have discussions, even if it's related to the second degree, even if it's like non-Japanese examples. If you have interesting ideas, feel free to share, or anecdotes also. So we'll try to read that together. So environmental ambiguities and literatures. So we'd like to cut down the trees with nature in mind, so declare Suzuki Takehiko, the director of the so it's the Shosenkyo Noxio Research Ivory Tower. I mean, research, I've always said that research is a collective endeavor at the very least. I kind of miss being in the academia because of that. So Shosenkyo, and then it's Kanko Kyokai, but we don't need to worry about that. So every time you see like this, sen, it's like Shosen, obviously. And so the director said that. And part of Japan, Chichibu-Tamakai National Park, Shosen Gorge has for decades been labeled as the country's most beautiful valley. Years of deforesting meant that when the park was founded in 1950, little stood between tourists and the majestic rock formations for which the gorge is most famous. But by the turn of the 21st century, I can't do a straight line, and maybe we can do that. So the turn of the 21st century, visitors were frustrated that trees were now blocking much of the view. The park's laissez-faire approach to the valley's vegetation did not threaten its ecosystem. Trees are hardly invasive species there. But this economically disadvantaged part of Japan that depended on a steady stream. I have some wires on my... Okay. That depended on a steady stream of tourists who wanted to see the cliffs, not trees. Yeah, we cannot be straight, not even faking it. Yeah. So some even claim that the trees were depriving the valley of its beauty. So Suzuki argued that, and I think this is the interesting part, that trees, even if they are part of nature, should be felled so that people could have a better view of nature. Trees should be felled so that people could have a better view of nature, the gorge. And so this is like really interesting, right? Like we are destroying nature, we are destroying the trees so that we can see the gorge. And this is what I said about Oh, I know I have like a interesting moment where I don't remember the kanji. Oh yeah, of course. The kanji for shizen. So this is like shizen equal nature. But remember that nature in Japan, like shizen, it's you can have man-made influences. It doesn't have to be like the raw nature. It can be a nature that has been changed by men, and it still looks natural. So again, here the idea of nature is that it's not a problem like to cut some trees, like some dumb trees, if we want to see like the gorge. It's not a problem to like build some terraces, like to better enjoy, walking alongside the river, even if like the terraces are very artificial. We're like changing nature so that it matches our needs and our idea of nature. But in this particular case, despite Suzuki's appeal, most of the trees still stand and in fact are highlighted in the park's promotional materials. The Shosen Gorge Tourism Association's website features images of colorful trees growing beside and out of majestic crags. In some pictures, trees effectively obscure the cliff. A banner running near the top of the website declares Shosen Gorge the most beautiful in Japan, full of many wonders of nature. The many wonder of nature. Things that we need to keep in mind at some point. And so here, Thornburn is basically saying that this episode encapsulates what I call eco-ambiguity, the complex, contradictory interactions between people and environment with a significant non-human presence. A significant non-human presence, but it doesn't mean that it has to be that humans have to be completely out of the picture. Many parks, although established at least in part to protect ecosystems from human abuse, ultimately depended on the human footprint for their existence. Areas that do not attract visitors risk being developed. Likewise, calls to destroy one part of an ecosystem frequently stem from the desire. Calls to destroy. Well, I can't draw a straight line. This is madness. Oh, I don't know. Is my driver? I don't know. Maybe I should just highlight things. From the desire to protect another. Deer population, for instance, are regularly culled so that vegetation can be restored. Draw queer lines, it's okay. Probably. But the ambiguity of people's relationship with Shosen Gorge is particularly pronounced. The original requests for deforestation stemmed from the desire not to save, but instead to see another segment of landscape. Tourists wanted the trees removed not so the cliff could be protected, but so they could be photographed. Their calls have gone relatively unheeded. Trees remain part of the appeal, their foliage, particularly in autumn. So this is like, that like... I don't know how to write. Hanami. This is in spring. And it's like the cherry blossoms, and you have, I don't remember the kanji, but like you have momiji in autumn, and momiji is like the red leaves, so it's like watching the leaves in autumn. So one of the important moments where you're watching nature as well. So their foliage, particularly in autumn, a highlight of visits to Shosen Gorge. And so that's her idea of eco-ambiguity. And she says that like some, other areas were not as lucky. And she shows that like exactly here. Most experts agree that ongoing changes to the world ecosystem, triggered lately by nebulous combinations of human behaviors and non-human processes, are not sustainable, and that unless these vectors are redirected, global environmental crises are inevitable. Such instrumentality is evident not only in the worst forms of environmental degradation, such as strip mining, but also in the language behind even progressive efforts at sustainable development. I think that is the very interesting part here, even in the efforts of sustainable development. The very way nature comes to appear is already made subordinate to the activity of human beings, who either destroy it outright or feel compelled to manage it. Thus, while sustainable harvesting practices can keep a forest alive, they can never change the deep structures of a life, of a style of thinking through which a tree already first comes into appearance as a resource, rather than dial its tree with the lights in it. Nature as a resource, very important thing that we should keep in mind at some point. Okay, I don't want to go like too in depth in here. That's basically it. So eco-ambiguity is really this part, this, you know, very, again, ambiguous relationship towards nature. Like sometimes we're protecting it, sometimes we're destroying it. And that's kind of what we want to check when we talk about like rivers in cities. It's about, okay, we are like safeguarding those rivers, but at the same time, we're doing it in a very specific way that might destroy some part of nature, because the end result would still be, you know, we have a beautiful river and that's good. And I kind of want to go back to here. And I'll show you also the Sumida, the Sumida terraces, because I think it's also very interesting. So again, we're talking about like one of the most important rivers in Tokyo, and you can see that, well, we have like the river flowing here, and hopefully, you know, fortunately I found like the PDF like for free, so it's nice. But so we have like this river here, and all of those embankments are obviously like man-made, right? And this has a natural quality. I think like it's nice to walk in here. You can see like a little sidewalk that is basically going the entire length of the river. At some point you have, you know, things that are a bit more urban. There's no vegetation, there's no greenery, but like you still have a, I don't know, quite like cozy place to walk in while being next to the river. Sometimes like you have like cherry trees, but you can see that like nature has been like optimized to fit that particular idea of riverside, you know, recreational path, as they say here. It's like, okay, it's nice, you have some vegetation, but it's man-made, it's artificial. And how do we understand that? How can we understand this idea of like modifying nature that much to fit our needs? And a second question is like, how are video games and culture in general, how are they showcasing this idea? Is it the same representation of nature, or are we trying to build another idea? And again, we can go back to the game we talked about in the previous Life of the Books. This also is a very imaginary idea of like nature in, you know, the suburbs. We already talked about in the last episode how the district of Setagaya was very chaotic back then because people were building things without, permission. And it's very different from this very, I don't know, ideal, suburban community where modernization is, arriving very slowly. And it's kind of like very cozy. It's still, I don't know, very nice to live here. But at the same time, we have like cars, we have like a little bit of modernity that is nice. Real life is not like this, obviously. And how do we understand like this, again, this particular representation? And is it the same everywhere? Is it the same in Shenmue with like Yokosuka? That's the question today. So again, Shenmue is the starting point, and I want to take a look at this particular article first. So that you can see that this is a translation of an article published in IGN Japan in 2018, and it's basically about the real Yokosuka that Shenmue chose not to simulate. So you can see even in the title this idea that, well, Yokosuka was maybe not as we thought it was just by playing the game. And this is very interesting also because like tourism, like the city has acknowledged the game officially within its like touristic program or whatever. So Shenmue, you can see that it was like a 1999 video game, which is like kind of like during the decline of Yokosuka. Anime is not real. It draws on reality, but it's obviously not real. There's also an anime. I'll show that because we're kind of like in the is this something or positive, negative angle? Okay. So this is a very recent anime. It was like aired at the end of last year. And you can see, so it's about like Tokyo. It's literally like Tokyo, and they are fishing inside Tokyo. You can see that we are like really within the city. And it's part of like this pilgrimage thingy where, because this is like, they are fishing in the Sumida River, literally. When I saw that, I was like on shambles because it meant that I had to watch another anime to analyze it. But they are basically fishing at different locations within the Sumida River. And it's kind of like showcasing what the river is nowadays. But like the river has been like redeveloped a lot. And it looks nice, but because it has been made nice. And it's a very interesting take on like fishing inside cities and the environment inside cities. So we'll talk about that at some point, but I don't want to analyze that today because we have a lot of missing pieces that we need to find first. So yeah, the real Yokosuka that Shenmue chose not to simulate. A city, we won't read anything because like it's a long article. Not that long to read, but like reading out loud, it will be long. Okay, so a city with an inseparable relationship with the US naval base. So in Dragon Quest III, for example, you leave Alihan on the day of your 16th birthday, right? Shenmue 1 is a game that depicts only the hero's daily life in his hometown before he sets off on his journey. Again, very interesting remark because like this is like the kind of like reverse call to adventure, right? You're not going anywhere. You're staying in the city. You're staying in your city, your hometown, and it's basically it. We do some menial work, we're just exploring things, and it's very slow burn, it's very slow paced, it is very different from what RPGs are normally doing. And so they were saying that, there was like a Shenmue excursion to Yokosuka, because again, it's like this idea of, I don't remember the exact name of that, but I think there's like a specific name for, let me check. It's like the pilgrimage to like special religious places. Can't remember the name. I think it's like Seiji-jurei. Okay, I'll show you here. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Seiji-jurei. And you can see like pilgrimage to sacred places and colloquial visiting the real life locations used in anime, manga, and so on. So this is basically it. A pilgrimage to the places that we've seen in anime. And that's why they went here. And they were talking about the sacred spot pilgrimage. We'll talk about that a bit later. For this one, I'd like to look at the world of Shenmue from a completely different perspective than Urza. I want to write a report that combines a documentary with the sacred spot pilgrimage. Again, because the sacred spot is something that the city has done. The city has acknowledged the existence of Shenmue, and they made like a sort of like touristic circuit within, you know, Yokosuka for the people that are playing Shenmue and then want to discover the city proper. So question, what was the real Yokosuka? I asked the locals about how Yokosuka used to be in 86 when the first Shenmue game was set and how things have changed since. So back in 1999, not only was it a surprise that a major title would be set in Japan, it was also a shock that a major game cost 7 billion yen to make and would be set in a regional city. Not only that, but there was also a series of games released around the same time, such as Front Mission 3, my cat is crazy, that featured the same setting. So for me, Yokosuka had a special place in my heart. At the time, the game's depiction of Yokosuka, which had been chosen as the place from which the main character Ryo Hazuki sets off on his journey, was praised as a simulator that recreates daily life in a regional town. But these days, when many video games were released that created the real world, the atmosphere of the era itself also had a strong correlation with the video game experience. So what is they are saying here, and I think it's very important, it's that Shenmue was influenced by Yokosuka, by the real Yokosuka, but Yokosuka in turn has been influenced by the game. And this is something you'll see in other games. If you think about the Yakuza game, certain like places are known to, you know, the broader audience because they have seen that in Yakuza, in Ryuga Gotoku, and they will go there to visit things. And is it the same thing as in reality? Maybe not, but sometimes like the officials are trying to use that popularity to do some, you know, redevelopment or things like that. So that mood, which is unique to Shenmue 1 and not in Shenmue 2, has to do with the chaos that existed in 1986, so the date of when the game is set. This chaos is reiterated by the people of Yokosuka who lived there. Okay. When I was a kid, I lived in Fushisawa. Back then, my family told me to stay away from Yokosuka at night because it was dangerous. At first, I had a scary image of Yokosuka. They were talking about, you know, submarines, whatever. And they were talking about, like, the US. If you fall into the sea and swim in the wrong direction, you'll end up in the US territory, so please be careful. Classified military information. Having known Yokosuka only from Shenmue, I was all the more aware how daily life came in close proximity to US military, something not depicted in the game. I think this is very important. Like, we are choosing not to showcase the US military in the game. And now the question is like, why exactly? Is that because it would have been a bit too, I don't know, problematic, a bit too controversial to talk about the US military? Because the US military was not exactly well received in this particular, at this time in Japan. hydration. There's an interesting thing that we need to keep in mind, is that Japan went through the Ampo protests. This is a series of, you can see, like, of massive protests throughout Japan in the 60s and 70s against the United States-Japan Security Treaty, which allowed the United States to maintain military bases in Japanese soils. And basically this was like the big moment for the left. Like, a lot of leftist students, people were clashing, as you can see, with the police, with the authorities. And it's really about, we don't like the American people, they need to go out. And the Ampo protest, unfortunately, you can see here, or maybe you can't, but like the initial protests were a failure. And that's why the US can still maintain, military bases in Japan, still today. And Japan is paying for them. I think Japan is paying for 70% of for the budget of the military bases. So it's a very heavy toll on taxpayers in Japan for literally no reasons. At least at that time. And that was like one of the main issues for the left in Japan. But the Ampo protest failed. And so military bases were there. But again, people were not exactly happy with that. You had like, regularly in Yokosuka, you had like, demonstrations against military bases, being like, oh, we don't want you here. And nowadays, if you talk to soldiers that were in Yokosuka, they will tell you that some places that are now being like manned by the new generation, some bars, some historic bars where American people would go, are now under management by the new generation, and this generation is extremely American phobic. It's like, oh, if you want to order in our bar, there's no problem, but you cannot like sit inside. You cannot like drink inside. You go out because we don't want like US soldiers in our establishment. This is something that even when, even when Yokosuka was at its peak, you still had like some negative opinions about them, especially because like you had some bars, I think like this, the EM Club, Yokosuka EM Club, something like that. Yes, whatever. So you had like, doesn't really matter. So you had like a club here that was like very popular with like sailors and such, and American people would come here after work. They would do like the first round of partying there, and then they would go to other bars, and it would go really hardcore, and it was disruptive. It was disruptive even back then, and that's kind of why like the EM Club kind of disappeared. It's not here anymore. We need to keep that in mind, that people were not always happy with American people, especially nowadays. But okay, let's come back to this. So everyday scenes turned into a blockbuster game. Across the water, the harbor where Ryo used to drive his forklift can be seen. I spent my whole life in Yokosuka since I was small, so I wondered how things I see all the time could be made into a blockbuster game. Yokosuka did not used to be a special place for Mr. Abe. It was just a place where people went about their daily lives as a matter of course. He sees Shenmue as a strange phenomenon which took that and turned it into a game. I've only recently learned about Shenmue. Yokosuka is home to a military base, so I thought it might be a military story, but I was surprised to find out that the way it features everyday life is what makes it special. And you see Dobuita Street here in this picture. So Dobuita Street is kind of like the very famous street in Yokosuka and heavily featured in Shenmue. And I think even with this picture, you can see that there's a blend of the Japanese way of having, stores that are directly, with the door in the street. But at the same time, the colors, the fonts, just everything screams also American influence. And there's a question of like, is the entire of Yokosuka like Dobuita or not? And well, spoiler, the answer is no, but then we need to understand how different it is and why do we feature like Dobuita in a game. They sure love adding new in front of place names. Everything is new. Everything, it's the future. Today is the first day of the future or something like that. What? I don't know. But I can zoom a little bit more, I guess, also. This is not the case. We know this is not the case. And welcome to this again. I don't think I can show... I think I need to go to Google Street, maybe. We'll use Google Maps. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So I mean, we can also search because I don't exactly know where it is. Here. So this is Dobuita Street, and you can see that it's very picturesque in a way. It looks nice, everything is nice, everything is very... There's a lot of colors, it's very vibrant, it feels nice, right? And I don't know, yeah, it just feels like a place you would be like happy to explore. And especially when, I guess this is probably the way. Yeah, I guess at some point like we can cross here and you'll see the sea at some point maybe. It's not very clear here, whatever. But we can move a little bit and you'll see the Bay of Tokyo, whatever. The new old taco place, exactly. And then you see the bay. Okay, so we say that Dobuita is kind of like picturesque, whatever. Is it the same thing elsewhere? The answer is not really, right? Because since the 2000, you had a lot of like redevelopment projects. A lot of places that were destroyed, and we had like we have skyscrapers instead. And you're here, it doesn't really look, that interesting to visit nowadays. And people are saying that indeed Yokosuka kind of like lost its appeal in the last years. Let me find like a blog article that I found like interesting. There was like I think it's you. So we are like, this is the internet. This is peak internet right now. So we have this person, whatever, that is basically a Shenmue fan. And she went to Yokosuka and she's talking about like, she's talking about her experience. And she's saying in a very internet fashion, it looks too much like those development concept photos. So true. Exactly. And you'll see that we'll showcase maybe a few projects that are ongoing. And you will see that it's really the case. So over the years, I've been to Yokosuka on several occasions, once in 17 with some friends who were super into Shenmue, and several other times in between then and 19. It had always stayed pretty static. It felt like something from the game, a slice of old Japan just outside of Tokyo. But this time when I went this year, it felt different. It felt kind of wrong. The charm that I once felt was gone, and it felt almost like a homogeneous tourist trap. It hurt to see. Sure, the place felt more alive than it ever did back then, but at the cost of what made the place feel special, and it made me not want to go back to what was always a must-see spot for me when I was in the country, which isn't even to say how much less Shenmue the place feels now. Okay, so a very interesting thing immediately is that she's a Shenmue fan, and she's like, it's not like Shenmue anymore. It doesn't feel alive anymore. It doesn't feel like idiosyncratic anymore. It doesn't feel like Dobuita anymore. Everything now is so soulless, is basically what she's saying. It's like, I don't feel at home. I feel like everything is too modernized, everything is too clean, and it doesn't appeal to me. Interesting, because it might be true, but at the same time, are you not trying to put like an idea of what Japan is? It's like, oh, Japan is not the thing that I have in my head, so it's necessarily bad. I don't know. So the main attractions were the quaint shopping streets and the sea views, a battleship you could go on board, and a park to relax at. Sure, these things are still there, albeit Dubiota Street has become a tourist trap trying to sell you gimmicky stuff, and many of the cool stores from years past are gone in favor of burger joints and cheap reference jacket stores. The CD store, for example, was seemingly gone and replaced by a burger joint, where I remember it being the skyline of the whole town is not... Put punctuation, I can't read this. The skyline of the whole town is not taken up by a huge eyesore mall in the middle of it, impacting what used to be some very nice sea views from the main street. Exactly, I don't like change, but at the same time I think she makes a good argument here. It's like, what she's saying here, like with the burger joints disappearing, is that, oh, for some reason, no, Yokosuka became a touristic place. And so everything has changed to be more touristic. And an example of that is the type that. The Yokosuka, I think, Navy Burger, something like that. Yes, exactly. So in, I think, 2008, you had like you had a special burger that was basically the recipe was given by the US Navy base to, like, I think, the city, and they are making this burger. Basically, this is kind of like, this is part of the touristic program of Yokosuka. And do we have like the... Okay, and so you can, like, you have a list of restaurants where you can buy this particular burger, whatever. And you have the letter in 2008 where they are giving basically the recipe for the burger. Made of steel nails and hydrophobic paint. Okay. And basically what she's saying is that, oh, no, everything is burger. Because the city has pushed like burger as the main attraction of the city. And we don't have, like, you know, just the music shops, the flower shops that we used to have, and everything feels like catered to tourists. And in a way, is she wrong? Is she wrong? Maybe not. It's like she's calling that gentrification. I don't think it's like the right use of the word. Gentrification is when you have like the cost of living going up because, you know, some bourgeois are trying to get into a new district because it sounds like more cool than their previous one. But yeah, this is what she's saying basically, is that it was a nice place to go even as a tourist, and now it's becoming really touristy, and it's just too much. To be fair, the American Navy must love them burgers. +2. The fate of most touristy places that get too popular are when the locals or the shops get forced out. I think so. I think did we discuss that on stream or not? But like some museums, you don't want to go there. Like you don't want to go to Uffizi Museum in Florence. You don't want to go to the Louvre in France because it's so touristy. You don't want to go there. You will not have a good time. The collection is nice, but you will not have a good time because it's too crowded. And it's the problem with Mount Fuji also, right? If you have been to Japan, or if you know a little bit about like touristic Japan, you know that I'm literally searching for Mount Fuji in case you have never seen Mount Fuji in your life. But Mount Fuji is collapsing because of over-tourism right now. Like the place is so dirty because people are throwing their garbage everywhere, and this is a big problem right now in the Mount Fuji. And too many people want to go there, and when you go to Mount Fuji, you need to wait for the summer. The climbing season is on summer, and the rest of the year, the Mount Fuji is closed. And the problem is that because of that, it's like bottlenecking people into this particular time of the year. And this is Mount Fuji. Not as glamorous, I think, right? Yeah, my cat is just vibing, I think. She slept beforehand, so now she's awake, and then we have to deal with her. And so this is like Mount Fuji. It's like a place, it's just garbage. It's just garbage everywhere. People are throwing up their things, you know, everywhere. And you have like, I don't know if we can see like this, but I think it's the same thing with the Himalaya, right? It's like you have like too many people climbing. You have too many people climbing, and you have like queues on the ascension because like everybody wants to go there. And this is cooked. And what our friend is saying here is that maybe it's the same thing. Maybe we have like catered too much to tourists, and we have lost something along the way. And for her, it was this, you know, more, I don't know, subdued atmosphere, relaxed atmosphere, whatever. But she's still saying that while idealizing Japan a little bit. And you can have like, she's right and wrong at the same time, basically. Louvre was such a one-time thing and not again. Mona Lisa was funny just for the amount of people. Yeah, you shouldn't go there. It's like, it's such a trap. There's a very big difference between a place or a town that exists on its own but popular with tourists, and a place that caters exclusively to tourists. exactly. And I think Yokosuka is on the second. It's difficult. We'll talk about is it the first one? Is it the first category? Like, is it for tourists only, or is it like also for the people living there? Because we need to talk again. Keep in mind. If I can go there again. Keep in mind that the population has decreased since the 90s, and so it's like how can we keep our city alive? And one of the solutions, unfortunately, is tourism. But what if I want to see the backs? At least Everest has the Rainbow Valley, but the Dead Million is in Fuji. So true. I kind of like not tweeted, but like posted something on Blue Sky about that. Or was it on Blue Sky? I don't know. But I was saying that I saw like an article about like people about luxury tourism becoming more important in Japan, and it's like, oh, you will meet like a blacksmith, and the blacksmith will create a katana for you, or you'll go to Mount Fuji, but it will be like in helicopter, so you can skip the entire ascension, and like, who cares about those peasants that have to climb themselves? And the article was saying, but like, unfortunately, luxury tourism is like the big thing in Japan right now. Like, this is where money is. It's like gacha. You do not like make money with, free-to-play players. You need to catch up to the whales. That's the whole point. But again, it's like we are losing something here. And what's the relation with like dead billionaires? I don't know. As someone who loves hiking and mountain climbing, that looks like absolute hell. This is like Mount Fuji. You should not go to Mount Fuji nowadays because it's too crowded. If you want to go to some places, maybe like, I don't know, go to, this is not exactly climbing, but like, go to, can we, I don't think I'll be able to find like those. Oh, still you have. Okay, you have like Kyushu, and this is like, it's touristy, but domestically. I think tourists from overseas do not go too much to Kyushu, and this is nice because like everything is basically like that, and it's a natural park also, so you have a lot more space, and it's like there's a lot more regulation as well. But this is like if you want to go to Japan and visit something nice, like Kyushu is nice. Anyway, there are so many other cool mountains in Japan too. Exactly, and I think we talked about like the mountain near in the first episode of A Leaf of Their Books, near Tono. You have mountains near Okinawa, and you have mountains near Hokkaido. You have a lot of things. Not Okinawa, what am I talking about? But yeah, Kyushu. My cat is crazy. I see you have like also those interesting things here. Those caldras. Oh, I think there's a caldra in Kyushu that is quite nice, like to explore. Yeah, this one, very nice. You see like a lot of plants rare there. Pretty nice. Very similar things with like other mountains in northern Japan, Vietnam. Chat a meeting in a tiny village in the middle of nowhere when? So true. Super rich tourism plus all the natives, a contest to hunt the richest, one win-win +2. Northern Finland meetup. Hokkaido meetup. Hokkaido meetup would be nice. It'd be a bit crazy, but I don't know. Okay, so what we were talking about, like, let's continue to read this particular article. We'll never finish. This is like why research is so interesting, because like so many ideas and we need, again, like I'm taking notes for myself because I will use our discussion for my own research, but like I'm really happy to share that with you. Okay, and so she's saying like it destroys the atmosphere of the area, and I cannot imagine it was good for the non-tourist trap small businesses, which is a safe bet considering that they seem to be all there is now beyond chain store and restaurant. I don't understand what she's writing because there's no punctuation, but let's talk about small businesses. The thing is that in Yokosuka, like COVID was hard. COVID was hard everywhere, and we know that COVID was hard on local businesses. This is especially the case in the in Asakusa. Asakusa is like, if you have been to Japan, if you're a bit familiar to Japan, you know Asakusa. This is the historic center of Tokyo. It feels like you have like Senzoshi. I talked about that a lot on other places. And you have a lot of small restaurants, businesses, very old school vibe, and a lot of things have closed since COVID. And now there's the question of how can we like survive in the new economy? And you have a lot of like small businesses that had to make concessions to cater a bit more to tourists. I've seen an article, let me check. There was an article. Oh, I won't find it here, but was it the Japan Times? Japan Times tourist, something like this. Yes, exactly. That was an article from this this morning. So we won't be able to read anything because I don't want to log in right now. I'm in a private session. But Japan crosses the 10 million visitors mark at the fastest ever pace, obviously because of the weak yen that is propelling an unprecedented tourism boom. Obviously, everyone wants to, take advantage of the weak yen. It's like probably the best time to go to Japan right now. It's probably the best time to buy things from Japan. And okay, we have like the fastest, tourist pace in Japan right now. This is kind of crazy. And did I close about Asakusa? Well, whatever, we can go here. Let me go there. We'll go to Asakusa. And you can see that Asakusa it's there. I'll zoom out so you can see maybe Asakusa showing at some point, or maybe not, because whatever. Asakusa is basically here. This is Senzoji, and this particular district is Asakusa. You can see that it's near the Sumida River, which is very important for us. And you have like the temple here, very nice map, by the way. You have the temple and you have a lot of, small businesses here. You can even see with like the 3D, I believe. It's like you don't have a lot of skyscrapers, right? There seems to be kind of like outside of this particular district. More here, and a bit near the river and south. But in Asakusa proper, you see very few skyscrapers because it is a bit more, old school. But a lot of things have closed since then, and I will... My cat is crazy. I can't do anything about it. Yabbies, Mama is working right now. You can't do this. Cat emote when? I don't know. Meow. Yeah, she's talking into the mic right now. I'm holding her into the mic. You want to go? Maybe you can sleep, maybe. You want? What do you want? Some other kisses again? Meow. I don't know what to do with you. She just wants love. I'm giving her love every day. I can't do more than that. Let me search for a particular article that I read 2 years ago, something like that. And I think it's like a very interesting article. If I can find it again. I think this is this one. Perhaps. Okay, so it's in Japanese, so good luck. Okay, I'll use translation just for you. Oh, I cannot use it because I don't have my... well, good luck. Anyway, the goal is not like to read the article. The point is that this particular article was written, you can see here, a bit after the lockdown in Japan. And it's about Asakusa, it's about the Sunda River and like businesses closing. And she's like drawing example from poetry. She's like comparing different poems that were written in the past, and she's trying to find meaning into the disappearance, a certain idea of disappearance of Asakusa nowadays. And this is quite a nice one. Like she's remembering, you know, old houses that you had like in the district. And I think she's also putting pictures of restaurants and maybe food as well. And yeah, and she's showcasing, you know, some of the food you can eat in here in Asakusa, and very specific culinary traditions that are kind of disappearing because it doesn't appeal to tourists a lot nowadays. Like we'll talk about that at some point, but like tourists, it's like, oh, I want my ramen and my ramen, and I don't go, you know, to more home cooking restaurants, places that you would go if you're working in this area and you just want like something quick and nice, you know, for lunch. So she's lamenting kind of like the disappearance of this culture, and she's like asking what we can do to safeguard it, you know, in literary terms. Can we like write about Asakusa and it will still exist in some ways? And this particular article and idea is important because I think we can do the same thing for Dobuita Street. Like we have already seen from this article that the Dobuita and the Yokosuka from Shenmue is not exactly like the real one. So it's already an imagination, a product of the mind. But is it a bad thing? I don't think so. I think you can showcase things so that they fit your idea of, you know, the theme you want to explore. And can we do the same thing? Maybe we can just like make another game or write a book about, you know, Yokosuka, and Yokosuka will live forever in this book. And I think that because of this Sacred Spot guide map, tour, I guess, this is basically the thing. Yeah, like you have this, and you can like visit all the location of the game. And so you have like a sort of like tour that is made like by the city proper, and you can just follow it. But like games do not have, and fiction doesn't have to resemble reality. You want to transmit ideas, but like you don't have to do a one-on-one representation of the location you're using as a base. And I think this is a very interesting like topic because it's what we see in for example, Assassin's Creed, right? In Assassin's Creed, I think like the biggest thing is that you're exploring time periods that feels nice, and maybe it would be nice to explore them during the revolution, during, I don't know, classical Greece or whatever. It's not classical Greece, right? I think it's like, are we not in, I think we are in Hellenistic Greece in Odyssey, but whatever. My point is that what matters is like, why do we want to use like a certain location, and how are we transforming it to fit a certain idea? And we can see that this particular person that is talking about the changes in Yokosuka is kind of saying like, the idea of the Yokosuka that I like is the Yokosuka that I saw on Shenmue. And even if it is not exactly what she's saying, like she's like, no, I just like the more subdued atmosphere, and it's right, and she's right, and she's based for it. But this stems also from Shenmue. And if the game didn't exist, maybe she wouldn't have like this affection for the old Yokosuka. Because as she's saying kind of here, I don't know if there's a part where she's saying that thing, yeah, it felt more alive than it ever did back then. Because like there's redevelopment projects. We're trying to build like new things for new people, so they can like enjoy living here, not just being a tourist, but living there. But again, at the cost of what made the place special. And you can find like a balance between the two. But sometimes, I don't know. Sorry to duck out, this is super interesting, but it's sleepy time. Thank you for coming and thank you for discussing. I wish you a very wonderful night, and I'll see you next time. So yeah, it's like she has a very, not narrow because it's like derogatory, but she has a very specific idea of Yokosuka in her mind, which doesn't fit exactly Yokosuka today. And this is like when fiction is doing the bridge. Like I think the two things can coexist together, and fiction is here to help you be like, oh, the Yokosuka of my dreams live in this game, in this book, whatever. But there are still interesting things in the Yokosuka nowadays. Again, she's not wrong, because like she's also raising very interesting points about like the burger joints, the more capitalistic approach of tourism. It's not very sustainable tourism right now. And Yokosuka is a bit cursed because like it has been known, I think, 2 years ago for... Can I show you that? Exactly, yes. Yes. So Yokosuka becomes Japan's first city to use ChatGPT for administrative tasks. City creates an AI-based avatar speaking in English to replace the mayor. This is cursed. Like, I'm not saying that, Yokosuka is doing all right. It's like, this is cursed and the mayor is cursed. It's like one of the most clueless person of all time. And his approach to like tourism is like very disgusting. It's really about, I don't know, he has a very narrow idea of tourism. It's like, again, it's like create burger joints and it will be all right. We don't need, to do more. Yeah, everything is a bit cursed here. So like, obviously, I'm not saying that the city is making good like decisions, but there's a middle ground, and I don't know, she's still, raising interesting points here. I don't want to read everything because it's like written without punctuation, whatever. But yeah. To be fair, some mayors also bad that maybe AI could be an improvement plus two. Tasty, Navy AI burger. That's interesting for Japan since they are so bad at taking in new tech usually. Yes, except for AI. Because I think Japan is investing a lot in AI at a national level. and so it has spread a lot. And why do we don't have music anymore for some reason? Also, can I have like something again? One interesting thing is also in Japan, like this is not the topic of today, but like this is copyright. They're a bit crazy in Japan because like you know that copyright laws are very strict in Japan for various reasons that we won't go over today. And even fan arts are like dubious at most. But and everyone agrees on copyright laws in Japan for some reasons. But AI, since you're kind of stealing, but like to everyone at the same time and not just one person, this is all right. This is all right. And like Japan is really with the Japanese discourse of, oh, but you know, I'm not an artist. So, and I don't have time to, you know, create. So I'm just using AI to speed the process. And you know, I'm a prompt engineer. I'm a prompt engineer, so this is my work, and you will pay on Patreon for it. And this has like spread a lot. A lot of people are using AI for image generation in Japan, unfortunately. And yeah, so in terms of like technology, they're all kind of like very, I don't know, early when it comes to like AI, you know, use, which is like bad. So, well, what do you want me to say? I don't know. A very interesting time to remind people that we hate AIs generated or not machine learning, but like mostly large language models, AI generation that comes from scraping data here. If you're an AI enjoyer, like generating images and stuff like that, this is not a safe space for you. Leave immediately. Leave immediately before my chat knows that you enjoy AI. They will kill you. You can't stay here, please. I don't want to do the NL bit about like going through a tunnel, but like, go away. You're not welcome here. Make me a mod so I can ban them. I think you need to wait a bit more for your mod sword. At some point you will get some, but I think it's too early. You need to... It wouldn't be deserved if I'm giving you the mod status right now. I don't have time to be a Maya, so I will replace myself with AI. You will be hunted, not even for sport +2. Even my school sometime has us use AI as a part of an assignment, something, and it just... Yeah, I mean, AI, like, especially I think with people, I mean, there's some, again, we're going out of topic, but like this is just a yapping on this stream, so who cares? I think like you have the whole discourse of like this is a disaster for ecology, right? AI generation, large language model, ChatGPT, whatever. But I think most people do not care about that because who cares about ecology nowadays? People are like, yeah, it's too late. No, it's too late to change like climate, to fight climate change. So let's just die. And you know, we can make things worse because like, who cares? And this is also the boiling frog. You are just like raising the temperature slowly and people will not feel the, I don't know, effect of it maybe. So, okay, the ecological argument for AI, against AI, doesn't work with people. And then you have like the artistic argument being like, first of all, it's like disgusting. I'm sorry, but like right now AI is disgusting, but that's not the important thing. It's like it's stealing the work of other people. And I think like we all had like conversation about that with other people. And they is all like, I don't see the problem. I don't see the problem. I'm a creator myself, but I'm not an artist in terms of like visual artist or whatever. So I don't see the problem. I'm writing things myself. I'm against AI for writing. But I will use maybe AI for the cover of my book or my video thumbnail because, you know, I'm poor and I can't afford to have an artist or to make collage or, you know, image editing myself. So we'll just use AI. What will it change? And you tell them that, no, it's stealing, you know, you know how it's being made and trained, it's stealing. And you explain that to them and they just don't understand. It doesn't compute for them. You have to meditate under the waterfall for some months in order to ascend to motherhood +2. I have my solar punk opium. Fix climate change, nah, accelerate climate change. Exactly. My dad sent me Ghibli AI pics of our vacation pics and I screamed internally, this is madness, I just don't understand. But yeah, Japan is crazy. AI for medtech in hand of a super user with moral train data has some sense. Exactly. When I first learned about AI, it was like folding proteins in an optimal way. And I was like, this is the future. It's so good. We're entering, you know, a new world. And now you tell me that it's making like Ghibli AI pictures? We should disappear. I also had the AI Ghibli family pics and I wanted to scream. Oh my god. I don't know what to say. Anyway, that's on the AI. That's my bit on AI. Again, if you're here and you're an AI for image generation enjoyer, stay silent or go away. I also had the latest Duma Miyazaki takes, but the poor man hates AI. And you do that to his work. Even like if you're a Ghibli fan, fake Ghibli. I mean, if you're a Ghibli fan and you do like Ghibli AI art, you're not a fan. You are not a fan. You haven't learned nothing about the message of Ghibli films. You're furthering the death of Ghibli. Maybe Ghibli should die. Maybe Ghibli should die because like we talked about the latest Goro Miyazaki film, like the 3D film, and it was so bad. I'm taking that like 20 times against AI generated art. Please, for the love of God, I don't want to see that again. Go watch a Goro Miyazaki movie to see what AI Ghibli would be. So true. +2. +2. So we haven't heard about Goro Miyazaki in a while. I think he's like maybe dead and in a, you know, the corpse has been put in a closet or whatever. Anyways, yes. Let's talk about other things. We were talking about, yeah, let's Ghibli watch along when. I don't know. I mean, we had like things we wanted to watch along, but I'm not sure how we can plan that. Maybe on the server, we'll see. Anyway, Yokosuka again. So yeah, the presence of the US force is blurred. We kind of like understood that. I don't know. And people, okay, we'll be talking about, I don't know, it was scary back then. Partly because at the time I was not used to foreigners. Again, you have a lot of anecdotes of foreigners being extremely rowdy in this period. And now they explain that there aren't as many foreigners around as there used to be. But okay, this is like the interesting part for me. Walking along the Buita street in real life, there was something about this ambience that made me feel different from the last one in Shenmue. This may be a strange thing to say, but it felt more unreal to me than that of the game's virtual portrayal of everyday life. The reason for this was the redevelopment of the city. Looking around, I could see newly built condominiums near the shopping street. looking a little further away, I could even see an Aeon Mall being built. Towering above stood a large rise hotel. The old townscape is blanketed by a crisp, well-maintained landscape. Interesting, right? Yokosuka has not been immune to the trend of redevelopment that many regional cities have undergone. The landscape looked as if CG models of condominiums and shopping malls were embedded in Shenmue's Dobuta Street. The sense of reversal, with the video game being realistic and reality feeling like a fiction, occurs frequently when you walk along the real Dobuta Street. And so on and so on. So this is like a flower shop, I think. Is still here, the flower shop? I don't know. There used to be a lot of customer with the passage of time down. Many of the old stores left. Business is not easy. He said that the old townscape and stores have disappeared. Nowadays, the bars around here have been turned into so-called Philippine pubs, but there used to be ramen noodle shops and delicatessens, like you'd call the supermarket today. There used to be all kind of things, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so I think you have this idea of the honeybee of bee for burger, AI flower shop, stolen flowers. But yeah, you have this idea that it feels less like home. Maybe it's a better place to live in. You know, like on a daily basis, you maybe have a bit more, I don't know, combini and things like that, but you have lost kind of the soul of Yokosuka at the same time. And that's basically like the starting point of the investigation. Like urban development, in some ways, has to consider, when you're developing things, redeveloping things, you will destroy things at the same time. So you need to make compromise, you need to like find a middle ground between what you want to discard and what you want to create. And in the case of like Yokosuka, at least for this person, maybe for the locals, it's unclear. My cat is crazy, I don't know what to say. And I kind of want to go back to the PDFs, if I can, because there's like a few like articles that I want to read, and we can do that. Like, I think we have enough context to start like reading articles. Obviously, like we need to detail some things later. For example, the exact chronology of urban development of Yokosuka, but like information in English is like so missing that I will need to do research in Japanese, and we cannot do that on stream. Not to look back into the air, cringe, but there was that whole point of people looking for ideas for gardening and finding AI points and being tricked into thinking those were real. Like you cannot look for references in the internet without being tricked into false realities. I mean, yes, that's kind of like why I'm using Kagi. You can see that that was the search engine that I was using, because like it filters AI things. It filters also internet slope. But like I'm paying to use Kagi. I need to pay to use like a search engine that is, you know, working. So yeah. Also, help. We need to watch this. To be fair, wait, we need to watch this. We need to suffer together. Give me 2 seconds.
I am Katsuaki Kamiji, mayor of Yokosuka. On September 15th, 2024, Yokosuka held its second ever Yokosuka Peace Project. This event was planned by local high school.
We cannot watch this. It's so cursed. It's so cursed. It's so bad. Oh no. I don't know. Yokosuka lihat. Okay, that was cursed. Maybe everything is a mistake. So there's this chapter I want to read, and we'll take notes on that a little bit. So promoting Yokosuka through video game tourism, it's, as we said, the example of the Shenmue. Sacred spot guide map. Okay. So introduction doesn't really matter, I think. It's like, well, media pilgrimage, we saw that. Video games, whatever, the introduction is just like a state of the art, doesn't really matter. So this chapter addresses this gap through the case study of Yokosuka in Japan, which has recognized the cult classic video game series Shenmue and has a draw card for tourists and fans from outside the city to visit its space. Through its Shenmue Sacred Spot guide map, Yokosuka officials provide a detailed guide for tourists seeking to visit locations depicted in the game. It contrasts with their fictional and real-world counterparts and it invites visitors to explore the city through events and promotion campaigns tied to the map. Promotion campaigns tied to the map. So you have this idea of like, we are really fostering tourism through this particular map. So drawing on an analysis of the guide map, an interview with Anna, we examine the potential for video game pilgrimages to put city otherwise overlooked in travel guides. It's interesting. What it's saying here is like cities otherwise overlooked. Is it a bad thing? Again, it's only a bad thing because like Japanese economy is like reliant on tourism. This is the important part. Like Japanese economy is reliant on tourism. And it's kind of like related to the idea of like the population aging and decreasing. Like you have less people, mostly because, you know, as, I don't know, you grow up in you know, a small town or a village. When you want to be like an adult, where do you go? I feel like for most people, it's like, I'm going to the city. I want to work in the city. I don't want to be here. There's nothing here. I can't, like, I don't have leisure. I don't have options to go, I don't know, to the cinema. I can't see my friends. I cannot go into bars because there are no bars where I am. So I'm going to the city. And because of that, there's the question of like, oh, we have lost a lot of young people. How do we keep them in our cities? And this is, I don't know where to take notes. We'll take notes here, whatever. There's a trend right now in Japan that is called like the U-turn. Basically, the U-turn is like, I don't know, it's like basically your hometown. And there's like a big city, whatever, probably Tokyo. Hometown being like Furusato, whatever. And basically it's like, oh, you're going from the city, well, from your hometown to the city, you live there for a while, and then you're coming back. And this is what they call a U-turn. And this particular thing here, this is like, oh, I don't like the city, doesn't like the city, or it's like, because there are new things in my hometown that are interesting, and tourism is like a good avenue of work, like as work, not as, you know, being a tourist, but working in the tourist industry. in some ways, like opening a restaurant or something like that. Things that are like tourism adjacent, open, whatever. And there's another, I'll just mention it here, but there's another current also in Japan called the I-turn, which is, well, not a turn, but it's basically I was born in a big city and I don't like the big city because I cannot find a job. It's too stressful. I don't like living here. It's too expensive. So I'm going to the countryside or a smaller town. And this is what they call an I-turn. I mean, if done correctly, spreading the massified tourism is not bad if those towns do want some tourism. Exactly. It has to be a joint effort. You have to put local communities in the loop. And let me just like... can I find the... Give me 2 seconds because I'm a bit more cooked. I'm lost. My Japanese is so bad today. I can't remember the. No, it's like a process for city. So michi zukuri. Okay, wait. So you have like something called like michi. Or are you writing it like michi? Yeah, michi zukuri. And this is basically like things where like, I mean, the city council is involved, but you have also like grassroots movements and, you know, more like local communities trying to like work together. And when you have the two together, this is called like michi zukuri, which is like, zukuri is like process and michi is like city. So basically like a process of the city, and it's like a new way of building things collaboratively. It's not always working, but it's interesting. And again, it's what you say, like you need like some cooperation between like all the actors to make something interesting. What if my hometown is a big city? Spin in place. They're taking some of the basic services like hospital away from small towns where it used to grow. Exactly. This is also a problem. I think like you could have... Why people do not want to go in small cities? Because you have like spent years doing like studies to, I don't know, become a doctor or whatever. And I'm not like, I do not say that I endorse that, but like you want to stay in the cities because like that's where, you know, the good things are, and you want to take advantage of all the money you're making as a doctor. And so you don't want to go in the countryside. And the problem is that we are really splitting two worlds, and there's no incentive for people to go on the countryside after having done a lot of, you know, long studies. And we need to put money in the countryside to be able to put again like hospitals, social services, whatever, things for people that are living, you know, in smaller cities, in villages, and give them more access to things there. And also give the people that will be working in these areas options to do things in their, you know, downtime. You can't just like, unfortunately for Sigrid, you cannot just fish. Some people want to do more than just fishing. So we need like to invest money by creating other avenues of entertainment or whatever. But this takes money, this takes like political vision, and unfortunately under capitalism, this is not something that we are willing to address. So yeah, okay. Back to this. So cities otherwise overlooked in travel guides. Again, it's like nice for the economy, but again, at what cost? Tourism is a nice thing, but at what cost? So we'll probably just skip to the Shenmue part. Meditate in the waterfall +2. Remote work is bringing some people out of the city, but sometimes the effect is not that great. Exactly, because like, unfortunately, remote work is nice, but it's a stopgap. Like, you can't do just remote work without like addressing the situation, the question of like, what do you do during your downtime? If you had like remote work and the city is telling you, oh, we have built, I don't know, this park where you live, we have put like more things to do where you live, then remote work is great if like there's, you know, a joint effort from both the companies and the city, country, whatever, to make your life easier as a person so that you can be rested and have some time for yourself. But again, it's capitalism. What do you want me to say? So, okay, the first Shenmue is a story of mourning and revenge, very interesting. Told that you need, if you haven't played like Shenmue, you need to remember this particular section here. So, told with the grandiloquence of a martial art B-movie and the relaxed pace and intimate gaze of an Ozu costumbrista drama, whatever. So, Shenmue has been praised for being a pioneer of the hyper-realistic urban game environment, for the deep characterization of both its protagonist and non-playable characters, and for the attention to detail of its cozy, charming open world. This includes the ability to interact with almost every character and object in the game, a design approach referred to as full recreative eyes entertainment. Whatever, we are not here for game design per se. I mean that more people moving out of the city leads to gentrification as well. Yes, true. True. I mean, gentrification is an entire topic in itself, and I think like we would be here like for too long if we were starting to talk about like gentrification, you know, in detail. But I agree with you. So, very interesting. Yokosuka is not an image that first comes to mind when one thinks of Japan's representation in popular culture. I think, like, okay, question. When you think about Japan, in terms of like location, what comes to mind for you? And then you need to rate your weeb level out of 10. Quick, it's like a collective exercise for you in the chat. I need your help here. We are doing collective research. With a sample size of, you know, very scientific sample size of, I don't know, 3 people? Gumma, okay. I mean, we talked about Gumma in your stream, so I see. And again, you need to rate your weeb level, because, you know, depending on how much of a weeb you are, you won't have like the same appreciation of Japan than other people, I think. Eight out of 10. Interesting. What about the others? What do you think of when I tell you Japan? Weeb level 3 out of 10. She's so funny. Sigrid is so funny. Japan is a place. You have like no ideas? Like you don't even think about Mount Fuji or things like that? Place Japan. Higurashi. She's so funny. Right now, with the countryside focus, I think of Showa era thingies. But inside the cities then, or outside? Like I kind of like want to know what locations you're thinking of. Are you thinking of like countryside, or are you thinking about the city proper? But I do also have Tokyo in mind because of my dislike towards it. The Christmas movie, like, of person moves to countryside to find themselves. Oh, I see. But yeah, you're not exactly thinking about, like, I personally don't know anymore for myself because, like, I'm working on very specific, things. But, like, you don't think about, harbors. You're not thinking about, like, skylines, maybe. You're not thinking about rivers. I don't remember the anime manga right now, but it was one of a calligraphy master moving out. I feel like I know it, and at the same time, I think that I don't. Oh, was it like... Oh... Was it that? I don't remember because I've never read Barakamon, so I... The harbors, I'm Danish, that's all I can think about. +2... But not for Japan, right? But I think you're right, yes, it's Barakamon, yeah. I like ocean. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about ocean because, like, ocean fishing in Japan, because ocean is like a bit outside of my research topics. Like, it's very different. There's a whole discussion about, like, I worked a little bit about on cities near the ocean and the issues you had with development. Because, like, it's like literally transforming the entire coastal areas, and maybe people cannot fish the way they did before. And it was especially prevalent in the 60s in Japan. But it's a bit different, and I don't want to dive into this because it's such a big topic. Mediterranean peeps hate oceans. I mean... The joke is quite deep there, but... Okay, so interesting here. They are talking about, like, how it's kind of new to, like, showcase 3D environment, whatever. So the first Shenmue is set entirely in the fictional version of Yokosuka near the end of the Showa era, which marked the twilight of Japan's economic boom. Yes, true, the game recreates numerous locales from the city, including its main street, Dobuita. Surrounding areas like the Nagaura port warehouses, the residential area of Sakuragaoka, and Route 16, the main highway leading into the city. The in-game locations of Dobuita and Sakuragaoka retains their real-world names, although their geography and specific locations like buildings and streets differ from their real-world counterpart. I think this is also the very interesting ideas. You saw that... when we checked, I mean, we can go back to it, but when we checked the streets here, like, okay, you have this is like really Shenmue-esque, although, like, this is a very recent, yeah, this is an image from last year, so a lot of redevelopment already. Like, this particular thing, I don't know, some things were not here back then, obviously, but you have obviously a lot of buffer areas that are less, like it seems that you're in a very different place right now. And you have like a lot of buffer areas like this, even back then. And what this particular article is like highlighting, and this is very important, is that their geography and specific locations, like buildings and streets, differ from their real-world counterparts, because you cannot modelize the entire Dobuita and the entire city of Yokosuka, right? You need to make concessions, so you take only the interesting things, being like the nice like streets and districts that are looking, fancy for pictures that have this Showa era vibe. You talked about like Showa era, and we need to talk about that. Like, there's like a Showa era nostalgia in Japan. This is like something that is important in the culture. It's this nostalgia for this period here, and especially the late part of that period where there was like the economic boom, and I don't know, things were a bit more easy for people. And so you're showcasing in the game like the interesting part, but like you're removing all the buffer. So it feels like it's not that Yokosuka looks like a village, but it looks far more cozier than it is in real life, because at that point there was still, some amount of modernization that was not like really fun. And as much as I want to agree with our friend, I don't know where is maybe I have closed the thing, but whatever. Okay, as much as I agree with her with like the so-called gentrification of Japan, or like the touristic boom of Japan, like Yokosuka was not like a magical place either. It was just a smaller town. It's just a smaller town, and some parts of smaller towns are nice and some parts are not. It's just like, for her, what disappeared is the small town identity of Yokosuka, perhaps. And like today, it looks more like Yokohama or Tokyo, which is kind of boring for many people, and it's kind of understandable. But Shenmue is like kind of like removing those parts from the game. I try not to make a lot of assumptions about places I haven't been to, especially if my knowledge of the place is based on stereotypes and lack of nuance. My assumption will always be that Japan is way different than I could ever imagine, and way more heterogeneous. I do agree, but it's kind of like interesting to see from, popular culture what people are thinking immediately of, because in some ways you have been like influenced by what you're seeing, and it doesn't matter if it's right or not. What matters to me as a cultural anthropologist is like, what do you think about like first and period? The trueness, quote unquote, of your representation is in your head, that is another question. But I do understand what you say, and I do agree. I think it's like a healthy way of interacting with other cultures. Okay, so they're talking about like the real world, Yokosuka, whatever. That is the interesting part that we kind of explored, but they are reiterating it. The Yokosuka population is declining as part of a broader process in Japan of regional shrinkage. This process is driven by a combination of the country's overall population decline due to low birth rate and the growing concentration of the country's remaining population in its three major cities, Tokyo, Yokohama, which together form the most populated continuous urban area in the world, with 38 million inhabitants, Osaka and Nagoya. As the overall Japanese population shrinks and residents relocate in these cities, smaller municipalities diminish more rapidly relative to the country's overall depopulation rate. Yokosuka must compete with this nearby megalopolis to attract tourists and economic investment outside of its key manufacturing industries and military facilities. to be fair, me going to Japan is very much what I assumed, but I don't think I have a rosy-eyed view of hey anymore. Exactly, it's like you can be a weeb, but you can be a realistic weeb. You can be like, oh no, I'm not just about like anime and manga. What is interesting to me is like Japanese culture with like the good and the bad, which is like weeb, but a bit different, I guess. But yeah, on this particular paragraph that we have read, the important thing here is this idea of regional shrinkage. I think it's like the key problem that we need to explore, especially on these like smaller cities, and I will give another example after. So regional shrinkage is population decline. And as like the paragraph is kind of like highlighting, one of the consequences of this decline is that people will just go away. And they call that regional shrinkage, but I kind of want to like give another word, and it's like urban shrinkage. Because what is shrinking also is the city in terms of buildings. You know that in Japan, like a lot of houses and buildings are getting abandoned lately because of the population, especially in like smaller cities. That's why you can buy like, and maybe you have seen like videos on it, like on YouTube or whatever, people telling you that, oh, you can buy like a house for like almost nothing in the countryside, or even in small cities, and you just have to refurnish it, and then you're good to go. And like you only have basically to pay the cost of the refurbishment, and not really like the cost of the land, let's say. So there's this phenomenon of urban shrinkage, and this is like very important in small cities where you will have like a lot of these suburbs that are getting like abandoned. I don't know if we can like check some images of it so you can like have a better view of it, but just refurbish because that isn't hard at all. Yeah. So basically that's it. That's literally it. Like you have those like, so this is like more of, like, I don't know, houses, but you will have a lot of like buildings that are like this. It's just like, completely abandoned, and you can just go there and you have to refurbish everything. Like those examples are a bit crazy, like this is really in the countryside, but you have this in cities. I don't know. They show like mostly. I don't know. You have also like just small buildings that are abandoned, like places like this. Like this is typical of what you can like buy for nothing. For almost nothing or nothing, and you have to refurbish it. And those are like small in small cities because like population is like just decreasing a lot. So this is something also that we need to keep in mind, and this is something that happened in Yokosuka, especially in the. Can I show like the map again? So Yokosuka is here. Oh, Yokosuka is here. I mean. And this part, obviously the harbor is like the nice part. And the more you go like towards this side of the city, the more you will find like some abandoned house, especially like as it's kind of like a hill. And there has been like a lot of discussion of projects about redevelopment in these particular things. I know that like some private companies wanted to build, houses for seniors and things like that in here. So a lot of abandoned house here, and the population is kind of like focusing a bit more on the coast. The chat owned hood. will buy like a house in like Yokosuka, and this will be like, you know, the quarters for the bookkeepers or whatever. But yeah, and again, I think the article was saying, well, the chapter was saying that Yokosuka has to compete with this nearby megalopolis, and this is this is basically that. You can see that like when you arrive in Tokyo, like you have two drop points. Like you have this one, but this is like very uncommon. I don't know. It's not that uncommon to land at Narita, but anyway, you have like two airports, and there's this big first like megalopolis. This is like Tokyo proper. You have like Yokohama. You have Tokyo here, and then a bit further you have Saitama, but Saitama is already, you know, the tranquil, the more the less touristy part of Tokyo. This is a prefecture in its own. Like we are leaving Tokyo, the Tokyo prefecture, to go to Saitama when we're going there. So most people, when they are visiting like Tokyo, will mostly stay. You know, they will stay in here. This is where you have like the big things, the big famous things, the Tokyo Tower. Like you can see like the model here. I think everyone has seen like the Tokyo Tower once, and you have, and this is like this is a bit more important for me. Along the Sumida River, you have the Tokyo Sky Tree, which is another high tower which is used for radio communication, and this is like part of the very famous things that you can buy that you can see in Tokyo. And then there's like, you know, other things. This is Shinjuku Gyoen, I think, or am I like mistaken? Where's Shinjuku Gyoen? This is Shinjuku Gyoen, or am I crazy? Maybe, I don't know, I can't remember anymore. But you have like some attractions, you have like famous parks, whatever. Now this, no, this is Shinjuku Gyoen, yes. A very famous park. You have also, obviously, like for the more, I don't know, younger generation, you have Shinjuku that you can visit. And you have other places, whatever. The point is that if you're visiting Tokyo, it will be your base of operation for a while, but you will mostly stay in that area. It's very uncommon for people to go near Chiba on the east and to go to Yokosuka. Why? Well, you have like one nice island. Is this the... I'm losing it. I'm losing it. There's a nice island to visit, but I can't remember which one I'm thinking of. Am I thinking of... Am I thinking of... I can't remember, whatever. The point is like you will not spend a lot of time here because like you have like other locations you want to visit. You'll be like 100 yen for the Sky Tree. I think you'll have it. Because again, like you want to spend time in big cities mostly. So you'll do Tokyo maybe. You'll do Nagoya. You'll do the Osaka complex here with like... Osaka is like a very interesting example because things are very interconnected, so you can do everything near Osaka in a very good way. Like they have really mastered the idea of like holistic tourism, I would say. And then maybe you go near, I don't know, Fukuoka, you visit like Hiroshima, whatever, and maybe you go north. But there are some places you won't spend a lot of time. And this is especially the case in Tokyo because like this region here, even this lake, like Lake Itaura here, you have like some very interesting like and Mito as well. You have some very interesting like places to visit, but this is not on the priority list for most of people. And what I want to show is like it's the same thing for. Am I losing it? Eh? What am I thinking about? Eh? Eh? No, I'm not thinking about you. I'm thinking about... But it works as well. It works as well. You have a very interesting... Osaka is a good base as well. Exactly. The urban areas in Japan are quite big, eh? Yes, because like a lot of things, like all of this is mountain. All the green things are basically mountains. So people are concentrating into like urban areas and they are like really big. Like Tokyo is massive. This is insane. If you put Saitama and like all the continuous like cities, it's large. It's really big. And this is basically something that I've worked on, but like the development of the Kanto region, all of those things that were swamps, and they just like drained everything and then built like cities everywhere. So this is like when you zoom, it's like, yes, you can stay in Tokyo for like months if you really want to visit everything. Anyway. We can take the example of Gifu as well. I think it's not too bad. So you had like a hint in the document that like Nagoya was one of the very big area, and this is true. And you have like the city of Gifu here. And the city of Gifu is in the unfortunate spot of being like next to Nagoya, but not Nagoya itself. And so it's a bit weird, and Gifu has the same problem of how are we surviving with tourism. This is quite interesting because like you have, and we'll talk about that at some point, you have this particular river. Can I have the name show here? It's called the Nagara River, which is very funny because Nagara sounds like... No, I can't finish this joke. If you know Japanese, you can finish the joke in my stead, but I won't. So you have this river, and this river is quite important. You can see that it flows really through the entire region, and it kind of like goes there and like then flows into the Ise Bay. The thing is that Gifu has the same problem of like, oh, we are like an old city, people are going into other places, they're going into Nagoya, they are going into like Osaka a little bit, and some people are going to Tokyo, and not a lot of people stay in Gifu. Like this is quite an old city with old people. And one of the avenue of like survival is, and I'm teasing an episode of a Leaf of their books, it's cormorant fishing, which is not very ethical, but we'll check this article from The Guardian. So this is taken in you can see like in the Nagara River, so in Gifu. And basically you have this ancestral art of using cormorants to fish. This is not ethical. You will like tie a sort of rope around their neck, and so you'll send like the cormorants fishing, catching fish, but then you'll like kind of like my cat is crazy, kind of like choke the cormorant so it's not able to swallow the fish, and then you bring the cormorant back and you take the fish from its mouth. And it's kind of what they are doing here basically. And this is a very traditional way of fishing here, and this is a festival every year in Gifu in the Nagara River. You had like very famous people going there just for this, just to see the festival. And this is, as the article is saying, this is kind of like a dying art, because like not a lot of people want to continue in this particular profession, and it's cruelty. It's just animal cruelty, and this doesn't sit well with the new generation. So I don't want to show, too many. Like this is bad. This is bad. There's nothing good into here. Hearing, but the city of like Gifu is still kind of like banking on it because it's still a very prominent avenue of income. And I'll try to show you here, like, thank you for the people that are rating the Nagara River. Like, this is not a bad place. This is like nice. You can see that there's a lot of, it feels like it's not natural, but like it's less compared to the Sumida that we saw earlier in the stream. It's like a good river. It looks good. And this is kind of like Gifu's approach on the Nagara River. It's like we are trying to make this very authentic. We are not trying to develop this river in a very artificial way. We want this sense of like it being natural. And that's why we're holding, this traditional fishing festival. So this is like very important, I think. It's like another approach on the environment. And you have like a lot of anime that are taking place in Gifu. For example, I think Yoka and River Tialist one day maybe. Let me check. We'll check Yoka, and there's what I wanted to check is like you made another one. Was it Kokurocho? I don't know. Because there's another one. Let me check. How is it called? There was a new anime that was from... That's it. Can I have the name, please? Shōshimin. Okay. And well, live for the book, River Tier List. I don't want this to be an episode of Live for their books, but maybe we can do this, like an overview of some rivers. And just like, I don't know, we can have a conversation about this maybe one day. Okay, so we'll look at the trailer because I think the trailer is quite interesting. I don't want to share it.
Ichigoタルト。この前言ってた春季限定の今日までなの。よかったですね。最後の2つですよ。タルト。
So Yoka is about like mystery, in a school. This is very, very daily life mysteries. Because being detective is not solving murders, it's solving little mysteries. And we have the same approach here.
探してほしいものがある。
僕はもう知恵働きはやめたんだ。テスト中に掃除道具入れの中で花瓶が割れた。誰かがそうなるように仕掛け。
So very simple things.
いや、違うんだ。
And food as well.
自転車見つかったって。
He's retired.
今ある手がかりだけじゃ何も断定はできないよ。この辺で終わりにしてもう帰ろう。
And then So okay, so you understand that it's about like small things, it's about living in the city, it's about the relationship with your environment and with the places that you call home. And because of that, you have a lot, and this is the same thing in Yoka, you have a lot of scenes that are like this. It's like kind of showcasing the city environment and how we kind of blend nicely into it. How we are belonging to this because it's between city and nature, and it's you find a certain harmony between it. And it's not like overdeveloped. It's kind of like just meshing well together.
勝手になればいい。
現状に満足する小市民を目指して何が悪い君が
And this is like the interesting part. It's like you have like this bridge here, and there's a scene, especially like in other trailers, where they really like take this bridge and they see like the rivers. They are like on the embankments, but even the embankments feels, you know, kind of like a bit chaotic, wild, and this is highlighting the more peaceful approach, naturalistic approach of like the city of Gifu. They're spending times in the bridge.
ねえ小鳩くん、私たち小市民にとって一番大切なものって何だと思う？
And it's finding meaning in a city that is kind of like old. And this is like this entire sequence here. This is we can spend like 2 hours just analyzing that particular frame. We won't because I have things to do. But see the relationship between nature and city, how it's like a little bit as we've seen in here, but there's still, you know, this it's highlighted obviously in the trailer, and you have the idea of like people from the city going towards the river and trying to find some consolation, some contemplation, some introspection there before coming back to their life in the city that we can see here, and so on. 2 hours analysis. I mean, if you like, I don't know if you are enjoying like this more yapping research stream, but if you do enjoy like those type of streams, I can do them more often and I can optimize my time as well. Yeah, so that's very interesting, and that's like the approach of Gifu, and I think like the approach of Gifu is very interesting. So what we were seeing was basically like this bridge here. Whatever. Anime deep analysis I would enjoy. I mean, at some point, maybe because one of the next anime I need to watch is like Negative Positive Angler that I've shown before, and this one I need to watch everything, and we need like to analyze it. So maybe as a book club at some point, I don't know. I don't know. I'm thinking also about like, we're kind of nearing the end of this particular stream, by the way. Like we have been yapping a lot. One thing that I want to do maybe is like, I don't know, I enjoy a lot of their books, but I feel like the live format is not exactly, I can't push as much as I would like to. I'm not as efficient as I would like to. And I was thinking of maybe like doing a lot of their books as videos. They would be like shorter videos and a bit more like focused, and I can like do things through editing that helps me, you know, saving some time. And the model stopped talking for some reason. Oh, I don't know. Let me reboot. I think like Rahi Tuber is like kind of dying, so I'll disappear for a while. I'm here. And exactly, and what we do live is the prep. Is basically the prep. We are like working together. We are doing the research together. Yes, I'm here. And the videos are basically like the format that is like done, really finished, clean, with like nice editing. And I think it's better like this. So maybe, for example, the next stream that we can do for research purposes is like, maybe, I don't know, I'm giving you 3 weeks or maybe more, and we watch negative positive angler, maybe the entire thing. I don't know how many episodes it is. I think it's like 13, but I'm not sure. 12 episodes. So either we can like watch the entire thing, either I can select a few episodes for you, you watch them, and then we can discuss about them all together. And this is our prep stream for a Leaf of Their Books that will be, you know, a bit more focused and clean, maybe something like that. I'm trying different formulas because like I've downloaded like the VODs from the Leaf of Their Books episode that we did, and it was like a bit too much to edit. It was like homework. It's not homework, it's like an anime club. And again, it's like you can enjoy the live stream without doing it. It's just that it gives us more, I don't know, discussion when we are like analyzing something. But even one episode, or we can, I don't know, watching anime as homework. You wish that you know, school was as good as that. Very funny, their name. Their name are all about like natural things. Nyoko literally Machida. Isn't this like, is it the joke? Yeah, it's all about like names that are like puns on nature and rivers. But we might do that. I kind of want to end the stream here, so we'll kind of like do a recapitulation of what we have learned today. And it's also a recapitulation for me, so I can like watch the VOD again, and I'm like, oh, I had like some really good ideas. I need to, you know, focus on them a bit more. So the goal today was to explore eco-ambiguity in Japan in general, and Japanese cities with rivers and harbors. And the naive approach is to take like Yokosuka as an example. We have seen that Yokosuka is undergoing like some redevelopment, but that it has transformed the city in a way that feels like it lost a bit of its identity. But also part of this identity has been kind of like derived from Shenmue. And people that are fans of Shenmue maybe don't have the right idea of what Yokosuka is, because Yokosuka at the end of the day is just one small city among many other in Japan, and like it faces specific challenges such as depopulation, the aging of the population, and how to have investments when you need to compete with like greater metropolises. We have seen that Yokosuka has used for a certain region, a certain place like the Shenmue game, as a way to showcase its locales, but a lot of places have been, you know, redeveloped in a very modern way that feels a bit soulless in a way. The question is, why is Yokosuka more attractive to people in the game, in Shenmue? The answer is that it's a fictional image of Yokosuka. We are just taking some interesting parts, so like Dobuita and other districts that are nice and kind of like picturesque, and we're kind of like suppressing the annoying part, the part that we don't want to talk about, so mostly the US military base and all the buffer areas that are not matching the atmosphere that we want to showcase in the game. What is interesting is that this particular thing here is very similar to what are you writing? Tanaka Tanaka. What? Am I crazy? Tanaka ta tai 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 Taichi Denchi? Taichi Denchi? I don't know. What did you have in mind with this? Taichi? Denichi? I don't know. But yeah, and these particular ideas, we will find them in Yokohama and in the Sumida River. I just want to finish with an article, I think. Mr. Phil first, middle first son. So this is an interesting game. We don't have the pictures. They were on Twitter, I think, but maybe we won't be able to find them. I don't know. Tanaka Taichi. Do we have like... My cat is crazy. This is like such a weird stream. That's why also like I need to like record videos like on my downtime when like my cat is not, you know, mowing as if she was dying. Are you for real? I can't find it. Okay, but this one will be fine. So basically, like Paranormal Site is mystery, detective, not horror game, but like a bit, you know, frightening in some places, where basically you have like several people that have like a charm that they can use to kill people under certain conditions. And so you begin the game and like you are with like your friend and you're talking about like all those mysteries and, you know, the urban legends near like the Sumida River, and then at some point she fucking dies. And then you're like switching perspectives. You're playing like the cop, you're playing other people. I think like you can see like all the characters that you can play. You can play like, this is the character in the prologue. Then you can play like this cop, you play this particular woman, you play those two, well, this particular schoolgirl, and so on. And basically it's like solve the mystery about like those charms that are related to these, you know, folk tales around the Sumida River. And what is interesting, I can't showcase that now, but like I think Twitter account for like the game, it's not a horror game. Like this is the prologue, this is like very frightening. To be fair, like it goes really, really, really hard. And this is nice. But then the game makes the very astute choice of being like a bit more chill. And it really becomes like a game about the city and just like exploring the city, and you don't have a lot of horror moments. There are still some horror moments like this, for example, but it's kind of subdued and it's kind of like it's a social story first. It's about like people that do not have a place in society. Like this particular woman here, she has lost her husband and her son. Like her son has been killed and she's seeking revenge with like those charms, but she doesn't want to. And a lot of the time you will not do anything, you know, rash with her, and you won't have like horror moments. Same thing for this cop and for all the characters. Like they're just trying to live their lives and they're stumbling upon those curses, and it's a social tale first. And I know a lot of people were disappointed because the prologue was horror pilled, and then it became not horror, And they were like, oh, it's so bad. Like, I wanted a horror game. And I'm like, no, this is good because it's about people. It's not about like being spooked. But yeah. And they did like a post like on social media where they would like take a screenshot of all those locations and they would put like photographs of the real life counterparts. And they would tell that, oh, you can visit this and this is nice. Like, this is an interesting place. So it's quite fun to visit, especially because there's a difference between, you know, what is shown in the game because it's in the 80s, I think, and what you can visit now, basically like 40 years after like the setting of the game. And you can make comparison for yourself. And all those posts were being like, go visit those locations. This is interesting. You will find things. You will feel the atmosphere of like the Sumida district. The Sumida district being like this one. So you have the Sumida River here, and the Sumida district is basically here, and that's where like the game is taking place. And like go there, go see like this park that you can see in the game, but be nice. Be nice because people are living there. So it's about mindful tourism. We're using like real life environments to push you to know more about those things. Like, we're talking about the Sumida River. It's really about the Sumida River and the folk tales around it. Go visit it. Go visit all those places. Try to enjoy like this atmosphere. But it's sustainable tourism. We want you to be nice. We want you to not disturb the people living here or working there. And I think it's also a very interesting like take on tourism and like representation of cities and rivers and whatever. And this particular game sparked the entire investigation on the Sumida River. Like, I've been working for the last 2 years on the Sumida River just because of Paranormal Site. I was like, oh, I need to write something about the Sumida River. And it just became like the biggest rabbit hole of my entire life. And it will still be a rabbit hole for, I think, 3 or 4 years. But yeah. So that's basically the ideas that I have here. It's really like finding a balance between development, tourism, sustainable, the invented idea of a location, and to see if other games are doing things like that, games or books or film, whatever. And yeah, I think it's like, obviously I'll go a bit more in depth, but there's something like we can use like Yokosuka as a first example, a short first example, to go to Yokohama and Tokyo, where we have obviously a lot more, you know, works that are set in those places. And that's it, I guess, for now. So thank you for hanging out here, I guess, in this very weird stream. I don't know why we don't have the music anymore, whatever. That time we got a paranormal site-induced Kamikakuchi into the Sumida River. So true. But yeah, if you enjoyed this stream as a kind of like work with me, we yap, we learn together, I'll try to do them a bit more. As I said, I think a few weeks, I don't remember exactly, maybe a week ago, I want to lean a bit more on the librarian side and on like educational content. And yeah, and we can do that for a lot of things. I have a lot of things we can do. The next, so for example, the next Leaf of Their Books should have been about fantasy in Japan, in Japanese fiction. And especially like Gwyn Saga, as we have seen, as I have hinted when we were playing Didlit in Wonder Labyrinth. The problem is that I was not expecting Gwyn Saga to be that devoid of research in general, and I have basically like no information. I don't have enough information to build like an entire episode of A Leaf of Their Books. And so now I'm thinking, maybe we can just say we do like a sort of research like episode, same thing as we did today, where we'll talk about like fantasy in Japan, and we'll go through a lot of different works together, and we'll just talk about them in a very, casual setting. And I think it can work, maybe. Maybe? I don't know. Anyway. Thank you for being here. You're welcome, May. I'm glad you did a lot of things. I will see you Friday for Source 3. The game has been installed on my computer. And for some people, I will see you in 1 hour when we are raiding. So thank you very much, and bye-bye.